Okay, so let's take a quick look at the interface here in Cinema 4D. First, let's take a look at the icons up here. These are menu items, or menu commands, I should say, that duplicate commands that you're going to find in these drop-downs up here. This is called the shelf, and it can be customized any way that you want. You can put whatever you want up here. But usually, it's for the tools that you're going to be reaching for the most often. Some important tools that you should know about. You have the selection tools over here. And these are very similar to what you're going to find in Photoshop. You're going to find your Move tool. This is how you manipulate and move objects around in the scene. The Scale tool and the Rotate tool. This is the last tool used. So you can have a history of the last tools that you used. And we're going to go into all of these tools in more detail a little later. But for now, I just want you to be aware of them. Over here, we're going to find the Object Manager. So anything that you're going to find in the scene is going to be listed in the Object Manager. So right now there's nothing in the scene, there's nothing in the Object Manager. But if we put a few objects in there, like so, you're going to see that these objects populate over here in the Object Manager. Now from here we can do things like change object names. I can turn the object on or off with this green check. Now, when you turn this off, that means that this object will no longer be calculated in the overall scene here. Turn that back on. You're also going to find over here you have these little dots. These are what we call traffic lights. So if I turn the top traffic light red, you'll see the cube disappeared. It's only gone here in the scene. It's still in the render. So if I click on the render button, you can see it's still there. If I turn that back on and turn the bottom one red, now it will no longer be visible in the render. If I click on the render button, you can see that it's gone. This bigger button has to do with putting things on layers here in Cinema 4D, but we're not going to really go into that in this title. Down here we have the Attribute Manager. Let's just go over here, frame up the cube. You're going to be able to do specific things to this object right here in the Attribute Manager. So this will change depending on what you have selected in your scene. So you're going to have a basic tab with all of them. It's going to give the name. It's going to allow you to turn things on and off in the editor and in the renderer, same as the traffic lights up here. You could choose to use a color on your object. You could turn X-ray, which would allow you to see through your object. You can go to the Coordinate tab, and you'd be able to control X, Y, and Z position. You could also control scale in X, Y, and Z. Over here, you control heading, pitch, and bank. Down here, we have our material manager. So if I double click here and then double click on the material, we will get the material editor window come up. This is where we build our materials. So you can control things like transparency, reflection, bump, all from within this editor. If I want to come over here, change this to red, and then take this material and put it on my Chris object, it's just that easy. Above that, we have our timeline. So this is how we animate in Cinema 4D. We've got our capsule over here, and we want to put a keyframe there, and then pull up in the timeline to 60, move it over here, put another keyframe, and push play. And now we have a simple animation. Again, don't worry about how I'm doing all this. I just want you to be aware that it's doable. We're going to go into all of this and much more. Over on the far left, we have another tool set. These are specific to modeling. You can do things like take your objects from a parametric state, as they are now, and you can make them editable by clicking this button. And now this is a polygon object, and I can come over, and with these selection tools, now I can select individual pieces of this polygon. Or with the points, I can select points of the polygon and move them around. Again, I don't want you to get caught up on all this. Just want you to know that it's here and it's available. Okay, so that's a quick tour of the interface. If you're feeling a little overwhelmed, don't, because by the time we are finished with this, you will be a pro.